Welcome to the MSP Corner podcast. Before we kick off our show, we would like to share what our main objective is at the MSP Corner. Our main goal is to help CEOs build profitable and self-sustainable IT service firms. We are not just providing tools for IT firms, we will be sitting in meetings with you to ensure your IT firm stays on track. The first area we are focused on, strategic sales. IT firms are stuck selling technology or IT support. We will provide you with the blueprint so you position your firm as an added value to your prospects. We will have framework on how to sell value so you influence the prospect into selecting your firm. The second area we see many IT firms struggle in is marketing. 90+% of businesses rely on antiquated marketing methods. The most popular choice, word of mouth. We have proven methods on how to attract the ideal prospect. Our framework will include how to become the online authority and be the business influencer for an industry. The third component to our package, scaling. IT firms walk away from opportunities because they lack the bandwidth or skill set to scale. We have lined up reputable businesses so our members can hire on-demand resources that will allow them to scale their business. The fourth area we will offer help in, selecting the right tools. In order to deliver value, you need the right tech stack. Our platform will offer information on products that are the ideal choice for MSPs. The fifth area we will offer help in is with documentation. Templates are a critical component when building an MSP. We will have contracts, proposals, SOWs, collateral, and much more in the template section. You will have every document you need to start up your managed IT service business. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go to our next podcast. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the MSP Corner podcast. I am your host, Fernando Leon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Gregory Morabiec. And today we have Innovation Vista in the house. But before we get started, I want to quickly go over our agenda. We'll do a proper introduction for Innovation Vista and Jeff Roberts. And then we're just going to talk about Innovation Vista's business model, why innovation is a fit for you, choosing the right consultant, their approach, economics and a white label partnership, success stories, and then we'll share their URL. So let's kick this off with a introduction to Jeff. First, Jeff Roberts is the founder of Innovation Vista. He has over 30 years of IT leadership experience, having led multiple digital transformations and IT turnarounds. He founded Innovation Vista in 2019 to provide IT strategy and leadership services to the mid-market with affordable engagement. And Innovation Vista is an IT consultancy providing tech strategy and leadership services to mid-sized organizations, handpicking the best fit for each client from their team of over 430 C-level consultants. They offer white label services to MSPs, enabling them to offer the breadth and depth of their expert team to their customers. So, Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Well, I appreciate the invitation. Looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah. No worries. Well, tell us, why would an MSP want to partner with Innovation Vista for virtual CIO consulting?
So I feel like we're kind of a unique solution to a very difficult challenge. And the challenge is that in 2025, offering IT strategy consulting, you really need to be aligned with the business model and the industry of your client to understand what's happening on the ground and specifically in their space. What are the common systems? What are the common challenges? What are their competitors doing? And it's really, really hard for MSPs and other groups that we partner with, if you haven't built a network of over 400 consultants, you're choosing from a smaller team and trying to assign someone to give that kind of strategic advice is just really challenging. So often clients are frustrated with the virtual CIO services. They feel like it is not necessarily value add, and not necessarily something that they feel is quote unquote strategic. So our solution really provides them that kind of expert, that purple unicorn person, that if they're a toy manufacturer, we can find someone who's been active in that space as a CIO or a CTO and can really speak to what's possible, what the leading companies are doing, and help them decide what would make sense for their company.
So is it always virtual? So let's say an organization, let's say we had a client who's public, and they're s- they're having a tough time finding a actual CIO. Would you be able to provide somebody to go on site, or is this always virtual?
Yeah, it's a great question. We call it virtual more often than fractional now,
Uh-huh.
since the pandemic, but we have flexibility. We really want to find the match for each client that makes sense. So if on-site is a big part of their culture, there is a certain magic of being in the room together.
Yep.
And so that makes sense. I guess it turns into a trade-off a lot of times where, we tell clients, if you're willing to open up the criteria for coast to coast or even international candidates to consult with you, then we can go to our directory and really find you someone who will blow you away. If you want someone local, we're obviously we're going to narrow that search, and we're going to find the best person who lives within a certain radius of you. Some industries are really geographically centralized, and it may not make any difference at all. Publishing industry, for example, is very heavily focused on Chicago and New York.
Mm.
So we could absolutely find someone in one of those cities. But if it's a bank or some other sort of industry, we're just going to find the best person we can in their market if it's important for them to come on site.
And how do you go about choosing the right consultant for each client? Because as you know, gosh, we've got so many industries. It's
Yes.
vast, right? I mean,
Yes.
I we do work for biotechs, and you've got so many. There's it's just
Niches.
not biotech anymore. I mean, there's pharmaceutical, right? There's genome. There's so it's like
Yeah.
it's just a vast sea of industries out there now. So how do
Yes.
you go about choosing that right consultant to come in and be a good fit for the client?
Yeah. Great question. And honestly, that could be the topic of its own podcast. It's part art, it's part science. I will say it is part of the magic that I think we offer that a lot of our competitors don't. That we have this network approach that we can handpick the right person as opposed to having a bench, or having the VCIO service be something that is part of someone's job.
Mhm.
We've got 430 people that we can select from and filter and kind of sort the options. We do look at obviously technical experience, right? What sort of stack does a company have? What are they trying to do technically? What are their opportunities? What are their pain points? So the technical is not absent, but we go far beyond that to look at industry experience, even the kind of the size and the formality of organizations.
Mhm.
So a lot of times, and we all know this sort of intuitively, people that succeed in one kind of company can often fail miserably if it's a different kind of company.
Yeah.
So someone that is used to a privately held company where decisions are made around the lunch table with 5 or 6 stakeholders, and at the end of that discussion they say go.
Yeah.
That is someone who is going to fail miserably, probably, in a international company that is governed by maybe a matrix of committees. So it just all of those variables go in, and we gauge with talking with the client what is important to them. Most of the time they do want that industry experience, because that person walks in the door with the context and the terminology and the grasp of the business model. They can contribute day one. About 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 12 cases, we'll get a request to say, we actually don't want someone from our industry. Our industry is way behind the curve.
Yeah.
We that we don't want to do what everyone else is doing. We're actually trying to be kind of leading edge, think outside the box kind of thing. So find someone who's worked in high tech, or online stock trading, or someone that just every possible technology lever has been pulled.
Yep.
So it really depends on what the client's looking for and what moves the needle.
Interesting. Now, do you have a prescribed approach to the virtual CIO services, or does each consultant do things their own way?
It's another great question. Yes and yes. So we have a framework. We've got internal IP that we think adds value, particularly around digital transformation, finding opportunities for revamping a business model, looking at human intelligence versus artificial intelligence, onshore, offshore, in-source kind of options, creating revenue streams with IT capabilities, or accelerating existing ones. So that sort of project where a client is looking for help, we open up our secret sauce, if you will, and we want that as part of what they're paying for in those cases, because they've talked to us about our approach, and that's what they want. In other cases, the expertise of that right consultant is huge and it's invaluable. So even when we've opened up our framework, we want to be very collaborative, and we want that consultant to feel like they can apply their IQ and their expertise to the project and not feel constrained and this is not the way I would do it, but this is what Innovation Vista is making me do. We don't want that kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
So I hate to say to every question, it depends, but this is all part of our tailoring these engagements to what makes sense for each and every client. And for some of them, we cut the consultant loose and say, look, you've done this 12 times. You know how to do it. You know what to ask. You know what to prioritize. Go do your thing. And
Yep.
other times it's sort of like, okay, here's our stuff. Please take a look. We do want you to sort of enrich this project with our expertise on this, but then bring your own knowledge to the table, obviously.
So does the CI, because let me tell you, there's a VP of security, there's the CISO, there's the CIO. Would the CIO also be, would it encompass the security side of a business, or do they strictly stay focused more on the information side?
That's a great question. So at a high level, yes, cyber is under IT, if you will. It's part of
Yeah.
IT. So we want to help them strategize. Our CIO and CTO consultants generally know enough about cyber to know when something looks good, or when it doesn't, when there's an obvious gap. Where you really find the CISO expertise paying dividends is how to solve a problem. So when we find a gap, it's generally a recommendation of ours to say, we think really let's bring in a virtual CISO. Let's have them, bring the top 3 or 4 options to the table, help us understand feasibility, cost, ROI, trade-offs, the fit with the rest of the stack. A lot of times something works great if you're running an open source, whatever. But if you're a Microsoft stack running everything on Azure, it's going to be painful, right? So that sort of knowledge, we do want to tap the specialists and recommend that they bring those in when it comes to solving the problem that our consultant has identified.
Now,
I have a question first.
yeah,
And
go for it.
it's probably, my questions are always tough, right? So I don't believe that that managers in America, at least, have any kind of formal training on how to manage. You know what I mean? I can see that left and right wherever I go. People just don't have any idea what being a good manager, what being a good leader is, and I've been trying to figure that out myself. And I'm wondering if you guys have any tools or forums or documentation that might help your consultants be better managers and leaders.
That's it's a great point. I completely agree, first of all. And our solution to that really is our mentoring and oversight of these consultants. So we do not get in the way, quote unquote, between them and the client, but we monitor sort of behind the curtain and working directly with the consultant where they run into challenges, et cetera. A lot of them, it might be skepticism in the leadership group about investments in technology. Maybe they have a poor track record, or they don't believe the hype, so to speak, on artificial intelligence or what have you. It might be a cultural challenge with the team itself that you're kind of trying to lead in a different direction and make improvements, and the people on the team were involved in putting things together the old way, and they still have that kind of emotional attachment and blood, sweat, and tears. So just helping them navigate all of that, sometimes it takes a village. I will say that the 430 people that are on our team are there because they have what we consider to be the right mindset for leading IT, which is there is a leadership component, there is a business impact focus, and not just, hey, let's silver plate everything or platinum plate everything. Let's not do things just because it would be better, quote unquote. Let's understand what's the cost of doing it and what's the economic value of making something better. So they all bring that to the table, and they've all succeeded at the C level, which tells you a lot just itself. If you've had a CIO role for 9 months and then you got ejected from the chair, the likelihood is you didn't learn the lesson about changing your mindset of who are your colleagues, who are you reporting to now. All of them are business people. And that's really the shift people have to make when they enter the C level. Very different from every other role they've ever had in their career. And you need a different language, and you need to at least be able to translate one to the other. So they all have done that, and they all have that kind of mindset. So we believe there is tension sometimes, and change is painful. But we believe when we've matched someone like that with the right kind of mentorship from us, and sounding board, and being cautious of how they move, cautious but decisive in how they move through change, that we've had success up to now with winning hearts and minds and bringing the culture along with us for the improvement.
Yeah. So another question is, I've been a consultant pretty much my whole life, and I feel like we're treated differently from from a lot of different perspectives. Do your team also see that kind of temporary view of that person when they're being dealt with? Is that something that you're challenged by, or do you just not see that?
We do see that sometimes, of course. The idea that if someone is very resistant to the change we're trying to bring to the table, they can just wait us out.
Yeah.
They've got specific company and platform knowledge. Obviously, our consultant does not have. And so if they set up an either or kind of situation where the company has to choose either let this person go or have them work with this other. They know they're going to win that battle. What we try to do in most of those cases is, again, the winning hearts and minds to mentor and lead the client's team and let them know, look, this is the way that IT really succeeds. This is how you get a seat at the table in the C-suite. This is how the board of directors wants to talk to you and hear from you. So many IT leaders complain all the time that they don't have that seat and that decisions get made and then it comes to us downstream after it's already been decided, things like that. And there are reasons for that. And it has to do with that mindset and the kinds of things that the head of IT is talking about with their colleagues in the C-suite. And what have they said to the board of directors when they were in front of them the last time, right? So we have a lot to offer. We often can kind of frame this as, look, we're not trying to take your job, but we are a successful, experienced CIO. Why don't you learn from us and, enhance your own skills and position yourself maybe to be the hero for this organization? And we're happy to be behind the curtain, whispering ideas and bringing suggestions. If there's a head of IT there that it may be a director level person, middle manager, and they've got experience with one side of the career ladder, but not the other. We try to think of it that way and, fill in some of their gaps and broaden their vision of what leading IT should be about.
So how do the economics work in a white label partnership? Because I'm assuming MSPs that you work with are white labeling your service. So
Yes.
how's that going to all work there?
Yep, absolutely. So the short answer is we shrink our margin to enable the MSP to make the lion's share of the profits. We believe that, of course, it's value add that we are bringing the talent to the table, but the harder part of the equation is bringing that relationship and trust with the client.
Yeah.
So we want them to have, it's usually either like a 40-60 split, something along that line, where the MSP needs to make more profit than we are. The consultant needs to be paid a fair rate, obviously, or they won't be engaged for very long. And the client needs to pay a market rate, or else they're also not going to be interested in a long-term partnership. So the answer to that dynamic is we shrink our margin. That lets everyone else be market level. The MSP may be making a little bit less than what they would if they sent their own internal person. But sometimes, honestly, having that purple unicorn is the difference between keeping the client or delighting the client and having them kind of frustrated and maybe willing to pull up stakes and go somewhere else. So it really is kind of a strategic decision that MSPs make when they work with us. And a lot of them, frankly, it's opportunistic. It's, maybe they have 30 clients and they say, look, for 28 of them, we're good. We've got someone, they've worked with them for a while. Maybe they've worked with that exact company for a while. And we feel good about their strategic advice. But we do have these other two clients that are in very different industries. They're new to us. We don't have anybody in the building that really can speak to, what does strategic IT look like in these verticals. And so they use us to fill the gap and pull the string and say, all right, find me this kind of, we call them purple unicorns a lot, just because the combination of what they're looking for is often very unique. Someone who's used this ERP in the past and they've worked in this industry and they've dealt with offshore teams in India, whatever the combination is, and we can go find the best fit for them.
And can you share some success stories just so the audience gets an idea of, well, first, before you say that, who is your ideal MSP? How big are they? And what size of organizations are you looking to work with?
We are very flexible on the size of MSP, and we're somewhat flexible on the size of client. I will say most of our consultants have their experience and sort of think like the mid-market. So client sizes, like the MSP customer sizes, are generally a little larger, 50 plus staff, something in that range. I always say we can help smaller companies than that. But we want to make sure that the size of our impact for them is greater than the size of our invoice. And that tends to start making sense when they get to, at least a few dozen employees, and they have enough scale where our guidance and our suggestions are going to be multiplied across a large enough team. In terms of MSP size, we have some that are nationwide. And they kind of think of us, like I said before, filling the gaps. And then we have some smaller that really, they don't have anybody who can offer vCIO services at all. And a lot of them, to be honest, I think a lot of them weren't really selling vCIO services until they ran across us, but because they didn't have anyone with that skill set. But then they meet us, they realize they can white label us, the economics are going to make sense, and it's a value add for the client. And it's a value add for the MSP to provide this, honestly, because the alternative may risk that client going on their own out to the market and finding a virtual CIO. And, that vCIO has no partnership whatsoever with the MSP. And if that happens, there's better than average risk that the MSP is about to lose their customer.
And can you share some success stories just so our audience gets a preview
Absolutely.
of what your history is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me take one in the technology sector. So we worked with MSP that supported the infrastructure, desk side support services for a SaaS company that kind of had an online marketplace product. So they had supplier customers, and then they had end user customers, and they ran the platform that connected those and allowed orders to be placed and routed from one to the other. Enormous pain point on the client side because the MSP really didn't have any experience supporting a software company. And the nuances of that, you can imagine the kind of the pain points that cropped up from a change management perspective, from hosting, from the whole idea of development, test, production, instances of everything, being able to move data, obfuscate it when it goes into the development environment, all these things that software companies deal with. The MSP really just did not have experience and really didn't know even how to kind of suggest tooling and platforms. So they reached out to us, engaged a consultant from us that was very experienced with SaaS software companies, including the infrastructure side of that equation, the tooling, the methodology side. So really, our person helped both. They helped the client, of course, figure out some things, set some methodologies in place. This company had developed the very dangerous habit of creating a copy of their system and then modifying it for each and every customer, which sounds great to the sales team. But when it comes to adding new features across the board, you now have to place that new feature in 20 different instances, some of which have evolved and branched off very, very differently from the original code base. So really helped them get their arms around that. And then the consultant also helped the MSP with, what does it look like to put in, change management and continuous integration and continuous deployment tools in the cloud. A lot of things are honestly just they're turnkey, and then configuration challenges. But you have to know which tools work well with which kind of source code bases work well, and which kind of tool environments. So they brought all of that to the table, and honestly, it was like like the catalyst in a chemical reaction, right? It just it eased the tension on both sides. All of a sudden, the client, the software company, is more appreciative of the MSP and realizing they actually do a good job on the hosting and support side. They're reasonably priced, they're giving good support, etc. And then, the MSP feels like now, they are delivering a lot of value because it's not just, standing up hardware and sending them a bill every month, but it's this kind of methodology and process advice that we brought to the table. So
Well,
it very satisfying kinds of things like that. And for the price tag, just, remarkable ROI.
yeah, yeah. No, I bet. Greg, I've wrapped up my questions. You got any more?
No, I'm done. I learned a lot.
All right, awesome. Well, Jeff, thanks again for joining us. I'm going to share your URL for those who are interested in reaching out to you. So you guys, if anybody wants to contact Jeff, you can reach him at go to his website, innovationvista.com. And all right. And everybody who's listening, thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to sign up to be a member on the MSP Corner site. Go to www.mspcorner.com. Please share our link with the CEO who will find our information beneficial to their business. And if you want to reach out to Gregory or I, you can reach us at info@mspcorner.com. Have a great day. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to sign up to be a member on www.mspcorner.com. Please share our link with the CEO who will find our information beneficial to their business. Have an awesome day.